Pearl Harbor was a surprise military strike by the Imperial Japanese Navy Air Service upon the United States against a naval base at Pearl Harbor in Honolulu Territory of Hawaii. The sides were Japan versus America. Key figures: Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto was a Japanese Marshal Admiral of the Imperial Japanese Navy, the Commander-in-Chief of the Combined Fleet during World War II until his death. Lieutenant Commander Itae had been named group leader on the Akagi, the flagship of the Japanese Imperial Navy First Fleet. The weapons that were used in the battle were 353 aircraft was a fighter group of the United States Army Air Force during World War II, and for Japan, 40 of which were torpedo bombers, is a military aircraft designed primarily to attack ships with serial torpedoes. America warship were USS Arizona, USS Maryland, and the aircraft for the U.S. were B-17 Flying Fortress, P-28 PS Shooter, Brewster F-2A Buffalo, and PBY Catalina. Tactics that were used during the battle: the Japanese wanted to use a surprise attack to weaken the U.S. Navy. To get the best out of the surprise attack, they bombed the base early in the morning before anyone was even awake. Advantage: the Japanese wanted to spark tension between them and America in order to distract them from Europe. It was meant to be a strategic way to lead to the victory of the Axis power. Casualties: Japan lost 29 aircraft, 5 submarines, 129 deaths, 1 prisoner. Americans lost 2,403 deaths, 1,000 wounded, 8 ships destroyed, 188 aircrafts destroyed.
50 Imperial Japanese aircrafts. Though the raid only lasted 75 minutes, the Japanese destroyed or damaged nearly 20 American naval vessels, including 8 battleships and more than 340 airplanes. Over 2,400 Americans died in the attack, and many more were wounded.
Battle Midway was a major naval battle in the Pacific theater of World War II that took place on June 4th to 7th, 1942, 6 months after Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor and 1 month after the Battle of the Carol Sea. The battle took place in Midway Atoll. Sides were Japan and America. Key figures were Chester W. Nimitz, Frank J. Fletcher, and Raymond A. Spruance. Weapons that were used during the battle were tanks, submarines, aircraft carrier ships, and vehicles. Tactics were: Japan Yamamoto divided his force into 3 main groups. There were 4 big carriers, the battle fleet, and the invasion force. These 3 groups were too far apart for mutual support. The Japanese carrier group operated in close order, commanded by Admiral Nagumo, who had led them for the attack at Pearl Harbor. The casualties were about 3,000 soldiers and airmen died in Japan. 317 soldiers, airmen, and Marines died from the U.S.
War. The aircraft carrier Enterprise leads the U.S. Navy as it strikes back. Now Enterprise is about to face the massive Japanese fleet at Midway. The main force of Japanese ships headed toward Midway include 4 aircraft carriers, 7 battleships, 150 support ships, 248 carrier aircraft, and some 15 submarines.
Battle of Okinawa, codename Operation Iceberg, was a major battle of the Pacific War fought on the island of Okinawa by United States Army and United States Marine Corps force against the Imperial Japanese Army. The island of Okinawa was about 350 miles away from Japan. The sides were Japan and America. Key figures: Simon B. Buckner. He served as the 38th governor of Kentucky. Roy Geiger was the United States Marine Corps 4-star general who served in World War I and World War II. Chester Nimitz, commander-in-chief of the Pacific Fleet for the U.S. The weapons that were used during the battle were M1A1 carbine, M3A1 grease gun, Browning M1919 MMG, M12 shotgun, M1903 Springfield, Browning M2 HMG, Remington 31 M1917, and Field M1941 Johnson rifle. Tactics: the Japanese would use the terrain to slow the American advance, and the Japanese would attempt to bleed the Allied naval force. The United States would conduct a massive artillery barrage, followed by a sweeping maneuver to take the island. The Navy would defend the sky and support the American advance. The casualties: 240,931 in total, including 149,193 Okinawan civilian, 77,166 Imperial Japanese soldiers, 14,009 American soldiers, South Korea 365, United Kingdom 82, North Korea 82, Taiwan 34 soldiers killed during the battle.
Our dive bombers fly towards the island of Okinawa to meet the Japs. We can see the yellow smoke of the gunfire above the battleships. We are passing transports over our starboard and over our port as we plow ahead, headed for the beach and headed for the Jap.